Hi again, hires. I thought I would take advantage of having the time today to prepare a couple of other videos for this week. So I'll talk through quickly the role of nobility. These videos don't always upload and it's a pure nightmare to get from my iPad to the computer, so bear with me. Hopefully you got on okay with the clergy and hopefully you got on okay with your analysis plus points. I'm not going to give you anything away just now because you might still be doing that, and I'll have a look at that as you're coming along. But as I said, please be patient with yourself because it is tough and it will take time and your brain will be sore. But once you kind of start to think that way and start to get it, it'll make it easier for you. So the second one today is the role of nobility, another threat to the onslaught regime. So learning about the knowledge. If you look through the PowerPoint, I've kind of got it quite structured. I've given you a kind of note at the beginning to kind of get some of the key knowledge, like who were the nobility, what was their position in society. Remember, you should know they're the second rung in the onslaught regime, the second estate, if you will. It talks about how they are the most rich and the most powerful, to be honest. Remember, if you have any knowledge about medieval history at all, the nobility were really at the top of the pile, if you will. Of course, the clergy were, but the clergy were at a kind of different level, and as you know, a lot of the upper clergy were actually nobility anyway. Okay, but talk about the nobility, they had the kind of greatest power in terms of land and wealth and position in society. There's a saying called blue blood, and it was called noble blood. So as you know, most royal families would have come from nobility, and the idea of marrying outside your blood was a big deal. You know, you would never ever marry outside the noble blood, outside of blue blood, and that was really important. Even up until recently, the royal family hadn't really married a commoner, and that was why when Prince William married Kate, it was all, oh, she's a commoner, i.e. she doesn't have royal blood, she doesn't have, or noble blood, because noble families were the most powerful, often kind of interacting, fighting and getting positions and marrying into the royal family and becoming royal family themselves, so very, very important, okay? Now, the thing in France, it talks about kind of the idea of who they were, remember? Now, again, all the main positions, so like really high up positions, hence the idea of all the key bishops were nobles, any leaders of the army were nobles, key ministers were nobles, king's advisors, nobles, okay? And if you've watched the programme Versailles by BBC, it's a wee bit risky. I know you've watched a clip on it already, but I watched a bit of it last year. I did like it. It's quite, as I say, risky, but it's got a lot about the nobles and the factions between them and kind of coming against each other, so it is very interesting. Gives you an idea of the amount of power they had. The thing about France is a wee bit different at this point. We actually have the division of the nobility. It's not just before our revolution, it's about in the 100 years before that, and we have something called the two different nobilities. So we have the first one, and we have the nobility of the sword, or the old nobility. And why they're called the nobility of the sword is because they carry a sword with them. They have the right to carry the sword. That was a kind of ancient right as a member of the nobility. And that idea, they were a royal family. They were, remember, the nobles were also the key knights. They were the ones that had the king's ear. They were the most powerful. This carrying the sword kind of showed that, how they dressed, etc. So nobility of old, nobility of the sword. But then in the kind of years before the French Revolution, we have the evolving of another set of nobility, and it's called the nobility of the robe. Now, what is that? That is a new kind of administration position, because there's lots of bureaucracy, there's a lot of admin to be done. And this kind of nobility kind of pops out of nowhere, really, and they become a self-made nobility. I suppose they get into positions of power kind of through luck and then through having certain skills. Now that's really good, you know, and a great thing. But the problem is, between these two nobilities we have a big issue, because the nobility of old, the nobility of the sword, say, wait a minute, you can't call yourself the nobility because you're not. In every essence of the word, you're not the nobility, you don't have blue blood. But the new nobility are saying, well, we've bought into this, we've made ourselves this nobility, so therefore we've actually become nobility. And they couldn't rectify that because the nobility of old really, really hated that and said, no, you can't, you can do whatever you want, but you're still never nobility. And that leads to a lot of tension. So what is the issue there? Well, the grievances, really. I mean, the nobility of the sword grievance might be the fact that this new nobility exists. And what is the nobility of the robes key grievances? They're kind of annoyed that, you know, the nobility of the sword are disliking them and not letting them have position. But the nobility of the sword are also very offended and worried about this, because they think it kind of dirties their name. If you can just buy into this position, then really you're not nobility, are you? Because the essence of nobility is the fact that you're born with it. It's a birthright. You can't buy it, you can't sell it, you just are noble or not. So they don't like that, and it threatens them, to be honest. And then there's this idea that these positions, as they become more numerous and people start to become more wealthy and buy into the nobility, they start to get bought and sold or even inherited. You know, if someone was a minister for a certain district and is really rich and powerful, they would obviously say have a son or daughter, and they would pass it on to their son. and then that position would be inherited, and again the old nobility is saying that's not right. These positions become known as venal offices, and that's talked about in your booklet, and these positions do grow substantially before the French Revolution. So you can read through that a little bit more. It's got some more information about how the nobility made their money, particularly through charging the peasants and the third estate bourgeoisie to use any resources that they had. For example, wine presses, etc. It was usually the nobility who owned that. The nobility who had the top jobs in the state and who had a lot of power. But the problem with the nobility, the second estate, is they do not pay tax. Now think about it. That is like your Simon Cowells of society, and yet they don't pay any tax, even though they could. So think about how that might threaten the non-short regime. Okay. Lots of information on the PowerPoint about the two nobilities. Do a mind map or a couple of key points about each one, so you have kind of key information to bring down. If you're in class, I would have given you a wee kind of chat. I might actually put it to the classroom, see if it works, and you make up a wee speech for each one to see how the relationship between them. And then ask you to do the booklet tasks as usual. And it's got a little note-taking video for you to watch to learn about the nobility again. After that, again, as usual, okay, you've got your analysis plus points. And again, I'll take them out of this PowerPoint and you'll be hating me, but think about, again, how this would be a threat to the on-short regime. And I love how it gets to the point at the end of the year that I don't even give you A+ at all, like you give me some, and sometimes it can be really, really different and out of the box. I'll obviously give them if you're really struggling, and I'll help you with that and I'll support you with that, but really try and think how it might happen. So, you could say, for example, the idea that, I'll give you one, I'll leave one in for you, the idea that the nobility were exempt from paying taxes and exempt from all the dues and kind of obligations that the other estates had to do, like road service, etc., that could lead to a lot of resentment. But don't just stop there. You can't just write it led to resentment. You need to link it back to the question at higher. That is where most of you lose your marks. You don't link back to the question enough, and we are pedantic about it, so I'll keep on writing link back to question, link back to question. So how is that a threat? Well, it's a threat because maybe that resentment could bubble up into a revolt, potentially, or, that could be way it could be a threat. However, I would probably counterbalance that by saying, yes, it could, this resentment could towards the second estate could potentially rise into a revolt. However, I would argue that the lower estates are probably too busy getting on with their day-to-day life, and actually they were so used to this sort of life and the way it was, why they would be unlikely to rise up against it, to be honest. So really the role of the nobility would not be that much of a threat. Okay, so that again, here's your A and your A+. You're shown why it was a threat, linking back to the question, linking to the essay question, and then how it's limited, how it's not a threat. Okay, and then again, remember, when I come to the end of this issue, I'll be asking you to think about and do evaluation, which means comparing each factor against one another, because in your essays you'll be having to choose 4 of these factors, describe them, analyse them, and then evaluate them. So say you choose 4, you need to decide which one's more important. So have a think about it as you're going through. So if you've just done clergy, now you're doing nobility. When you get to the end of nobility, think about it. Of the two, which one do you think was the greater threat and why? They could both be pretty insignificant if you think that, but which one was the greater threat? Was it the nobility because they're more numerous? Was it the clergy because they had greater interaction on a day-to-day basis, maybe more leeway, more convincing powers, given that the kind of spiritual link between them and the peasants, and I say peasants, I should say third estate. I keep on saying peasants, but the third estate is not just the peasants, as you'll soon find out. So really want you to think about this, okay? I'm not going to do any more lessons this week because I really want you to digest all of this, and there's quite a few wee bits and bobs tasks to do. So I won't give you any more, but please make sure what you do this week is up to a high standard. Obviously, you've had your 3 big lessons, a couple of videos to watch, a couple of activities, A&E+, lots of activities in the booklet, lots of reading. So I think that more than enough makes up your kind of 4 or 5 hours for the week. So I'll leave it there, and then we'll move on next week to the next couple, looking at the third estate. We divide the third estate into the different groups and look at the difference between what they were and what their grievances would be, but more importantly, how they would lead to be a threat to the on-short regime. You think about it, comparing like the third estate to the second estate, you already know from your looking and your studying at the on-short regime that the third estate was actually the most numerous. So on a practical level, if 95% of the population is in the third estate, a big massive block, then surely the third estate, for example, could pose more of a threat just for their numbers, in comparison to, say, the nobility, who makes up like 1% of the population. Okay, so that's what we do evaluation. We'll do that at the very end, so don't worry about that just now. But feel free to start thinking that way if you are quite critical and you're quite already thinking along evaluation lines and thinking what you think it might be. Okay, I'm in that mood because we played Sherlock Holmes this morning. It was really good fun. very, very critical, difficult, challenging game, but it was good. So, have a great week. I hope you're doing okay. Let me know how you're getting on, if you get any questions. I think it's a long weekend this weekend actually, so perfect. You've got enough work to go on with, and I'll repost for the beginning of next week. Have a good one. Bye.